Good morning from Adelaide. Last night before I went to bed, I watched an announcement by Donald Trump, a historic deal, the eternal peace in the Middle East. Then I was woken this morning from a message from one of our subscribers, Patrick, who said, "Rob, you got to do a video on this." And last night I went to bed quite shocked. I should have actually not gone to bed. I should have gone and done a video on this. But I'm just going to read you something. Daniel 9:27, and it says, "He will confirm a covenant with many for 1 7, but in the middle of that 7, he will put an end to the sacrifice and offerings. And one who causes desolation will place an abomination on a wing of the temple until the end that is decreed is poured out on him." So the he that they're talking about here is the Antichrist. And the Antichrist will confirm a covenant. Let's just watch this video together.
So this is a big day, a beautiful day, potentially one of the great days ever in civilization. Things that have been going on for hundreds of years and thousands of years. At least we're at a minimum very, very close, and I think we're beyond very close. And I want to thank Bibi for really getting in there and doing a job. We've worked well together, as we have with many other countries, both of us, with many other countries, which is the only way this whole situation gets solved. And I'm not just talking about Gaza. Gaza is one thing, but we're talking about much beyond Gaza. The whole deal, everything getting solved. It's called peace in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. So today is a historic day for peace, and Prime Minister Netanyahu and I have just concluded an important meeting on many vital issues, including Iran, trade, the expansion of the Abraham Accords, and most importantly, we discussed how to end the war in Gaza, but it's just a part of the bigger picture, which is peace in the Middle East, and let's call it eternal peace in the Middle East. So this is far more than anybody expected, but the level of support that I've had from the nations in the Middle East and surrounding Israel and neighbors of Israel has been incredible, incredible. Every single one of them. This afternoon, after extensive consultation with our friends and partners throughout the region, I'm formally releasing our principles for peace, which people have really liked, I must say. And these are done, not just routinely done, these are done with total consideration and working with the nations that we're talking about. All of these nations have made contributions to those suggestions. I want to thank the leaders of many Arab and Muslim nations for their tremendous support in developing the proposal, along with many of our allies in Europe. Europe has been very much involved, and as I was called by many of the European leaders, most of them saying, "Is this true? Are you really doing peace in the Middle East? This is the most incredible thing we've heard." Some think it's the biggest thing they've ever heard. They called just to find out, was it just a rumor or is it actually done? And then they said, "Have you spoken to the Arab leaders? Have you spoken to all of the other leaders that we have to get?" A lot of people involved in this one.
It's not just a rumor, it's potentially fulfillment of prophecy. And it also reveals to us who the Antichrist is. This is important, guys. This is really important, because we could be entering into the last period of history. The last period of history. Get a hold of that, guys. This could be the announcement that we've been waiting for. Eschatologists have been speaking about for many, many years. We'll keep watching.
I also want to thank Prime Minister Netanyahu for agreeing to the plan and for trusting that if we work together, we can bring an end to the death and destruction that we've seen for so many years, decades, even centuries, and begin a new chapter of security, peace, and prosperity for the entire region. And I want to just say that my meetings and dialogue that we had with so many countries. Saudi Arabia, as an example, the king is a phenomenal person. The Emir of Qatar, he's incredible people. UAE, and that's MBZ and ABZ. We're totally involved. These are the people that we've been dealing with and who've been actually very much involved in this negotiation, giving us ideas, things they can live with, things they can't live with. Pretty complex. I mean, after 2,000, 3,000 years, whatever it is, I guess it's got to be a little complex, or it would have been done a long time ago. The King of Jordan was with us, as you know, in the United Nations. The President of Turkey, President Erdogan, is a friend of mine, a strong man, but a good man. President of Indonesia, somebody who's an amazing leader, Prabowo. He is an amazing leader and respected by everybody. He was in the room with us. We were together with most of these people that I'm mentioning. Others were by phone or the next day. The Prime Minister and the Field Marshal of Pakistan, they were with us right from the beginning. Incredible. In fact, they just put out a statement that they fully believe in this pact. It just came out just as I was walking around. They said, "Sir, you have a big notice from the Prime Minister of Pakistan and from the Field Marshal that they back this 100%. President El-Sisi of Egypt, who's terrific. And these are people I've gotten to know over the years. I mean, I would say it started around 2015 and then went into 2016 when the presidency officially began. But I've known him actually for a long time, and there are many cases really great men. I can't say in all cases, but I will tell you, in many cases, they're great men, and some great women too. They tend to be mostly men, however, I will say that. But if accepted by Hamas, this proposal calls for the release of all remaining hostages immediately, but in no case more than 72 hours. So the hostages are coming back, and I hate even saying this from the standpoint, doesn't sound right, but it is so important to the parents. The bodies of the young men, I believe in almost all cases, the young men are coming back immediately. I met with parents. The parents felt as strongly about getting the body of their dead boy back as they did as though the boy were alive and well. It's so important to them. And it means the immediate end to the war itself, not just Gaza. It's the war itself. Under the plan, Arab and Muslim countries have committed, and in writing in many cases, but I actually would take their word for it. The people I mentioned, I'd take their word for it. To demilitarize Gaza, and that's quickly. Decommission the military capabilities of Hamas and all other terror organizations. Do that immediately. And we're relying on the countries that I named and others to deal with Hamas. And I'm hearing that Hamas wants to get this done too, and that's a good thing. And destroy all terror infrastructure, including the tunnels, weapons of production facilities. They have a lot of production facilities that we're destroying. They'll also help train local police forces in the areas that we're discussing right now, in particular in and around Gaza. Working with the new transitional authority in Gaza, all parties will agree on a timeline for Israeli forces to withdraw in phases. They'll be withdrawing in phases. No more shooting, hopefully. As progress is made toward achieving these goals, Arab and Muslim nations need to be allowed the chance to fulfill these commitments of dealing with Hamas. They have to deal with them because they were the one group that we have not dealt with. I haven't dealt with them. But the Arab countries are going to, and Muslim countries are going to be dealing with Hamas, and I believe they've already been there. I think they probably have an understanding, and They haven't maybe mentioned that, but I would imagine they do. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gone as far as they've gone. If they're unable to do so, then Israel would have the absolute right and actually our full backing, the U.S. full backing. Marco's here, and a lot of our leaders are here, our great Vice President, Susie Wiles, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner. They've been so involved in this process. I don't think anybody else could have done it or even come close. But it's we're right there. We're right there. First time in thousands of years, I think you can probably say, if you really look.
Yeah, definitely first time in thousands of years. The only time it's going to happen is we've been waiting a long time for it to come to pass. This is definitely a covenant with the many. Definitely a covenant with the many, because he's talking about nearly all the nations being involved and agreeing to this. And this has been the express purpose of the Abraham's Accord for all this time as well.
Into it, if you study back, if you're a scholar, you would say thousands of years. Israel would have my full backing to finish the job of destroying the threat of Hamas. But I hope that we're going to have a deal for peace. And if Hamas rejects the deal, which is always possible, they're the only one left. Everyone else has accepted it. But I have a feeling that we're going to have a positive answer. But if not, as you know, Bibi, you'd have our full backing to do what you would have to do. Everyone understands that the ultimate result must be the elimination of any danger posed in the region, and that danger is caused by Hamas. The tyranny of terror has to end, and this is, again, something that we're looking for. This is eternity. This is for forever. To ensure the success of this effort, my plan calls for the creation of a new international oversight body, the Board of Peace, we call it, the Board of Peace, sort of a beautiful name, the Board of Peace, which will be headed, not at my request, believe me, I'm very busy, but we have to make sure this works. The leaders of the Arab world and Israel and everybody involved asked me to do this, so it would be headed by a gentleman known as President Donald J. Trump of the United States. That's what I want, is some extra work to do, but
wow,
it's so important that I'm willing to do it, and we'll do it right, and we're going to put leaders from other countries on, and leaders that are very distinguished leaders, and we'll have a board, and one of the people that wants to be on the board is the UK former Prime Minister, Tony Blair, good man, very good man, and some others. And they'll be named over the next few days.
You know, I have to say, I've been thinking for quite a long time now that Trump is the Antichrist. If you want to see a great channel, YouTube channel, that really goes to town on the prophetic scriptures that point to Trump as being that man, and bringing up things regularly about what Trump's saying and aligning them with the scriptures that speak to the Antichrist. Go to the channel Antichrist 45, and he'll give you some great insights into Trump being the Antichrist. But you know what's always really sort of shocked me about Trump is Trump is not a good speaker. He bumbles his way through things. He uses big words like big, beautiful, bill, and all this sort of stuff, which is very childish. You know, you'd expect someone in year 7 to call something a big, beautiful bill, you know, or even a grade 5 or a grade 4 kid. That's, you know, but someone who's mature and a professional would never call things such silly names and use such, you know, big language. And so I'm always surprised, like, is this the Antichrist? You know, but everything points to Trump being the Antichrist. So as I'm watching this, I'm always chuckling by his statements because they're just so childish. So it sort of baffles me. I expected the Antichrist to be one of the most, you know, beautiful speakers, someone who's going to just make you, just enthrall you with how he speaks. But the funny thing is, to some people, Trump's speaking enthralls them. 75 million Americans think he's just unbelievable, the best thing ever. But I just get so, I find it hard to watch Trump speak, Anyway, that's just my little rant on that.
And it'll be quite the board. Everybody wants to be on it now. I don't know if that had anything to do. They named me and everybody else wanted to be on it. I guess they figure, well, he's a soft touch. He'll be easy to deal with. Working with the World Bank and others, it will be responsible for recruiting and training a new government that will be made up of Palestinians along with highly qualified experts from all around the world. Hamas and other terrorist factions will play no role in the board, but they'll play no role in the governance of Gaza at all, directly or indirectly. As you know, thousands of Hamas leaders have been killed and soldiers have been killed. And we can never forget October 7th, but thousands have paid the price for that. And now it's time to get our hostages back and get back to trying to build something that's really great and very important. In our meeting today, Prime Minister Netanyahu was very clear about his opposition to a Palestinian state. And he continuously mentions October 7th, and I understand that. Most people do. And I understand and respect his position on many things, but what he's doing today is so good for Israel. I notice that they have large crowds gathering in Israel all the time, and they have my name up. They like me for whatever reason, Bibi, I don't know, but they do like me. But
oh man, his ego is.
They say two things:
unbelievable.
Please get the hostages back, and please end the war. They've had it. It's had it. So I think it's a very popular thing you do because he's a warrior. He doesn't know about getting back to a normal way of life, but he is a warrior, and Israel's lucky to have him. But now the people want to get back to peace. They want to get back to normalization in a true sense. Several countries have foolishly recognized the Palestinian state. As you know, some of our European friends, allies, good people, but they're really, I think, doing that because they're very tired of what's going on for so many decades. They've been presidents and prime ministers for years, and during this time, having to do with the Middle East, all they're doing is talking about the same thing over and over. They want to see it get back. And nobody wants that more than me, or I believe Bibi too. But the people of Israel want it. They really want it. They want the hostages back. That includes the probably 32 bodies that we're talking about, 20 people that are living, 32 or so people that are dead, and they want to have peace. So let us not forget how we got here. Hamas was elected by the Palestinian people. Israel withdrew from Gaza thinking they would live in peace. Remember that a long time ago, they withdrew. They said, you take it. This is our contribution to peace. But that didn't work out. That didn't work out. It was the opposite of peace. They pulled away. They let them have it. And I never forgot that because I said, that doesn't sound like a good deal to me. As a real estate person, I mean, they gave up the ocean, right? Ron, they gave up the ocean. They said, who would do this deal? And it still didn't work out. They were very generous, actually. And they gave up the most magnificent piece of land in many ways in the Middle East. And they said, all we want to do now is have peace. And that request was not honored. Instead of building a better life for the Palestinians, Hamas diverted resources to build over 400 miles of tunnels and terror infrastructure, rocket production facilities, and hid their military command posts and launch sites in hospitals, schools, and mosques. So if you went after them, you'd be after them and you wouldn't even realize you ended up knocking out a hospital or school or a mosque. That terrible thing, terrible way to have to fight. No fight is good, but that's a real bad one. So there are many Palestinians who wish to live in peace. Many. I've seen so many of them. And they have support. And I challenge the Palestinians to take responsibility for their destiny, because that's what we're giving them. We're giving them responsibility for their destiny, fully condemn and prohibit terrorism and earn their way to a brighter future. They don't want the life that they've had. They've had a rough life with Hamas. If the Palestinian Authority does not complete the reforms that I laid out in my vision for peace in 2020, they'll have only themselves to blame. We're giving them an amazing footprint, and they have amazing support from the leaders of the Arab world and the Muslim world, the great leaders. These are great leaders. These are unbelievable leaders that have built great countries and very wealthy countries. What the future holds for the Palestinians, no one really knows, but the plan that we put forward today is focused on ending the war immediately, getting all of our hostages back, getting everything back. Hard to believe when you even say it, and creating conditions for durable Israeli security and Palestinian success. Israeli security is going to be involved. We're going to help you. We'll be there with you. In terms of helping with security, we want to make sure it works. We just want to make sure it works. There shouldn't be a shot fired. Now, there will be, I guess, because that's the way it seems to be, but there shouldn't have to be within a few days. There shouldn't have to be a shot fired. It may be for eternity. Wouldn't that be nice? I hope it's true. I can tell you the leadership of that region feels that there's a good chance of it being true. So this will lead to this agreement that we're talking about will lead to a sustainable long-term peace. No president in history has been a greater friend of the state of Israel than I have, in addition to negotiating the...
Okay, I'm going to stop there because I want this video too long. As you can see what's going on, I predict that from this point, the war in Hamas will finish either by Hamas peacefully transitioning out of the area, or Trump will give the full backing to Netanyahu to blow the life out of him. And then that will be over, and then they'll have their peace that they're talking about, and there'll be a 7-year peace treaty developed from this point. So if that is the case, we know without a shadow of doubt it's from the scriptures. It's prophetic and its fulfillment. It'll be interesting to see what happens after that point in relation to the temple being rebuilt, because that 3.5-year period after this peace treaty, there will be the abomination that causes desolation set up. So there you go, saints. Look, the times are at hand. We are in the last days. We are closing in on some of the worst times in history. No greater time to get into prayer, to commit yourself to Christ, to live for him, to follow him, to serve him, to do his bidding, to get to know him deeply and intimately, because we're going to need to walk by faith in the days to come. Because whatever happens, do not take the mark of the beast system. Do not take a mark on your wrist or your forehead so that you can buy and sell. Live by faith in Christ. Christ will provide. Christ will guide you. He will show you the way. And this calls for patient endurance on the part of the saints. Some of us will be called to go to our deaths for Christ. Others will be led into places of safety. So God bless you, saints. And I just pray that God is going to help us at this time. And I know he will. I know he will. More has been spoken about this time that is coming than any other time in history in the scriptures. So, Lord, just guide us at this point. Guide us through this time. Help us to understand what is happening. Give us insight. Give us deep understanding. Let us not get deceived in these days with all the stuff that's coming at us from every direction, all the different things that are vying for our attention and taking our attention away and confusing us and deceiving us. Lord, I pray that you would raise up your people to do great exploits in these days, and that you would be with us powerfully and wonderfully, and that you would protect your people, and that you would guide your people. And I pray this in the wonderful name of Jesus. God bless you, saints.